That is beautiful. That is a Spanish guitar that you're listening to there. Today, I have the honor and privilege to welcome David Maldonado to the podcast. He is a number one Billboard charting Spanish guitarist. Some of you may have heard him if you live here in San Diego, if you enjoy time out, going to wineries, enjoying patio seating, dining. This is the Lineage Legacy podcast. I am your host, Francisco Aguilar. And like I said, I have David Maldonado here in the house today. David, welcome.
Hey, how's it going? I'm glad to be here.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate you coming on. It's I've been looking forward to this podcast since I invited you, or before, because I invited you to learn a little bit more about your story, about your history. So, just to give a little bit of background and context of where I met David. Um, I met David working at Avant, right? So Avant is a luxury or fine dining restaurant in Rancho Bernardo at the Rancho Bernardo Inn, and I bartended there, right, which I no longer bartend there, but I bartended there for about 3 years, and I don't know exactly when I met you, maybe a year in, 2 years in, but you work there. You go often to play at the patio downstairs at the veranda. So I just, we ran across each other, and that's where I met you, right?
Yeah,
That's
that
yeah.
that was
Hmm.
exactly because Rancho Bernardo. See, in my tours and travels, I live near Rancho Bernardo Inn. So the thing is with that place is I wanted to play as local as I can, so I didn't have to travel so much and you know a hotel, a flight after the gig. I just wanted to be play the gig like a lot of local musicians and go home. I found like I was attracted to that.
Yeah.
So anyway, I went to Rancho Bernardo and I said, I'll play here whenever you want. They're like, so they scheduled me once a month. And after a few times before the gig, I'd go up to Avant and I was playing downstairs. So
Hmm.
I'd go up there and just say hi to you,
Hmm.
have a drink, loosen up the nerves, and then go downstairs and play for the small fan base that was waiting,
Yeah.
and that was pretty much it. And being there once a month seemed like I became a regular to you.
Was it once a month?
It was only once a month. Isn't that
Really?
funny?
Yeah.
But some people like, I like it. It didn't seem like once a month to me either,
Hmm.
because I you were always there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like it wasn't anyone else. Maybe one time there was
Yeah, maybe it may have
yeah,
missed you a couple times,
yeah.
but yeah, I do remember. But I guess it felt like more than once a month, maybe twice, a month or something like that. But obviously, with your background being a musician and all, you have traveled and gone far to play. So obviously, working near your home where you lived in Poway, Rancho Bernardo that you mentioned, it was attractive to just be there close by home and then go home right after, because a lot of musicians travel, right, and
Yeah, the
you're
funny
far.
funny thing is a lot of musicians want the tour. They want to be traveling. They want to be in the hotel rooms and the flights and everything like that. And yeah, I used to be the same way. I mean, I've been this guitar, this like piece of wood with plastic strings has been my plane ticket to perform in Tokyo and Paris and all over the world, like many times all over the nation, New York's, the Miami's, the Nashville's, and the numerous times in Las Vegas. But it for me because I have children, I have two kids, and I mean they're older now, but I just could not stay away from them. It kind of hurt
Yeah.
too. So and then that's just me. It's not everybody. I'm a father first, and it just I wanted to be near them. I
Yeah,
didn't care.
it takes a toll on you. It's got to be physical and mentally too, because you're out every day working and then you're far away from family and all.
Yeah, so eventually I started bringing them,
Yeah.
to the New York shows, which is very fun because we all get our hotel rooms and just it makes it better because I've played New York and I go and I'm like everyone's like praise, oh, you're the best, da, 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 ha, rah, rah, rah. Go back to the hotel room, complete silence, you know.
Family.
No, this is before I
Oh,
started bringing them, and this is
yeah.
why I started bringing them. Like just silence. All you hear is like the sirens and
Yeah.
whatever, the noise outside of New York. And it's like, this is lame. Actually,
Yeah.
like one because you go from like a big high from everybody like you're great,
Mhm.
and then you get to the hotel room like nothing.
Yeah.
You know, the next morning you're packing. It's like you're just like your head is down and you're going to the airport. It's like,
Well,
what?
let me bring my family and bring some life into
Yeah,
this.
yeah. So that's what I did. Big paycheck, right?
Hmm.
Then, but no.
No
That
fulfillment.
the
Yeah.
money is gone, you know.
Yeah. Comes
But
and goes, but the
bringing
family's
them
here.
now, I have pictures of being with them,
Yeah.
but everywhere. And then, yeah, and then the same with Rancho Bernardo Inn. I actually love playing there. I wish I played there more, because it's like a hop, skip, and a jump from my house. But I love going there, and then I come home and like watch like whatever crazy Squid Game on Netflix with the kids,
Right. Whatever's trending right now,
Yeah,
Love
yeah,
Island or whatever. But that
exactly.
brings me back to what the purpose and goal of this podcast is. And I love that you brought up family in this in your travels early on. And even now you have your daughter here in the room here with us. So that's what the purpose is of this podcast, is to share your family history, the lineage, the stories, the experiences that you have and that your family has, and really just cement that and make sure that your legacy carries on, because you're an interesting guy. You have talking to you, I got a little bit of information where your family's from. So there's a lot behind that. So getting into that, I want to ask you. You got a little bit of information where your family comes from, right? Your family originally has the roots in Spain. You're Mexican. You were born in Mexico, but your grandparents or your parents are from Spain. Tell us a little bit of what you found. How far back were you able to trace your family roots? And wherever you would like to start. If you have that information of great grandparents or grandparents, I'd love for you to start wherever you have that for this
Okay.
information.
So going back to digging in all of this, well, I didn't learn anything new from that perspective because I've always asked about that just because of like confusion growing up. Why am I playing Spanish guitar when I was born and grew up in Mexico and the later teen years in like border town of Arizona?
Hmm.
Like, why am I so attracted to flamenco, Spanish? But the key of it, or I'll just begin for the beginning. So my parents, my mother's side of the family comes from Barcelona, not Barcelona, but a little area called Girona, north of Barcelona. My dad's family comes from Madrid, the actual city. So there was a revolutionary war in Spain that King Franco just started, worst king ever. But a lot of people, and see, this is not part of why but it just came to be. A lot of people fled Spain. A lot of people went to Cuba. A lot of people went to Argentina,
Mexico.
and Mexico.
Hmm.
Not many people went to Mexico, but the ones that they did gravitated to neighborhoods together. Like right now, I live in a neighborhood that's like a lot of Russians because they fled, and so like they're not related or anything, but they're just
There's a community. Yeah.
gravitate to their own,
Right.
So there was this little area in I'll be specific, in Nogales, Sonora, that they gravitated to, and that was the Spanish people. But the thing is with leaving Spain is that if you dig into the races of Mexico and Spain, Mexican people aren't really fond of Spanish people, and Spanish people aren't really fond of Mexican
Right.
people. So in the world, if you're Spanish, you're exotic. If you're Mexican in Paris, oh, you're Mexican. Oh, that's exotic too. But the two races don't really enjoy each other's company. So in their travels, so my dad's family landed in Hermosillo. My mother's family landed in Guaymas. They're both south of Nogales.
Mm.
But both of them and others gravitated to Nogales, the border town, because there was more work because they were building a railroad and everything like that.
And it was also a border town, so it was the closest to the United States. And I'm
Yeah.
sure at that point, or in that point in time, they were probably trying to get the closest they could to the United States.
Actually, that is something that they didn't try to do.
Oh, really?
They just there was just a lot of work, and I guarantee it was because the United States was growing. There was just a lot of work, and my mom uh, did not even know what the language of English was. She's like, we lived at the border town. I knew the United States, and that the people were going across the line and whatnot, but until one of my girlfriends started speaking in English. I was like, what is that? It's like they speak English over there. And my mom was like, I didn't even know there was other languages in the world. This comes from like we're here. We have all the information at our
Right.
fingertips. So things like that blow my mind a little bit. So anyway, for fast forwarding to the migration of like a lot of Spanish people, and the thing when they came and because they didn't like Spanish people, they renounced Spain. They were like, we are not Spanish. We are Mexican. We will never say we're Spanish. We don't come from Spain. We don't because they did not want. They saw so much atrocities during the Civil War that they did not want to be pulled back into, or they saw brothers killing brothers. It's a
Mm.
civil war. What's so civil about it? I don't know. But that's why they renounced Spain completely. They did not do anything like that. So that's why I didn't know where we were from. I just thought, born in Mexico, raised some years there.
When your family came over, was your mom already born? Was it just her parents when they came from north of Barcelona, or when your dad came from Madrid? Were they weren't born
No,
yet?
no one was born yet.
It was just the parents that
It
came,
was yeah.
or your great grandparents.
It was actually the parents.
Hmm.
Yeah, her great
Right.
my daughter's in the
Right.
studio right now. She's 18 years old. It's her great grandparents, but they came over and not together, right? It's just a migration of a bunch of people
Hmm.
leaving Spain from that civil war.
So then your mom and your dad were born in Mexico.
They were born in Mexico. They were
Hmm.
born maybe about 75 miles from each other.
Hmm.
In down south of Mexico. I'll say like if you take the border from Arizona and you go about 400 miles, no, 350 miles south, those two towns are kind of like horizontally from each other.
Hmm.
But then they all, all of the Spanish people trying to get rid of their accents, mind you, went to the north too,
Yeah.
because of job migration.
Right. And so, do you have the names of those ancestors that migrated to Mexico from Spain? Were you able to get that information?
Mm.
Even first names or nicknames?
I No,
No,
I don't have
no
that.
worries.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, as I went as far as back as my grandparents, but in like talking to my mom and all through the years, it'd be like your bisabuela,
Your nana or
your
yeah.
great grandmother, your great grandfather, or it's like she used to dance flamenco, and I'm like, wait, that's a clue. Like I'm like, how? She's like, oh, just out in the street, she used to lift her skirt and do like flamenco dance. I'm like, how? Why? And that's when like digging. I kept digging. I'm like, oh, they said something about flamenco, or why?
Right.
Why? I just couldn't understand why it was such a deep rooted passion in my soul. I'm like, why do I have that?
Yeah.
There's got to be a reason.
It's in your blood. It's in your
Yeah.
lineage.
I'm like, why?
Naturally.
Why I am not attracted to like mariachi and norteño music,
Mm.
And it's funny. And so my mom and dad, or I'm not them, but their parents,
Your
my
grandparents.
grandparents, lived pretty much in the same neighborhood, like two doors down, So they all had the same. They had the parents. My grandparents' parents,
Hmm.
were the ones that like kept the community together and had a bunch of kids. And,
Yeah.
you know.
So then, during that time, when they moved to Mexico, they were obviously trying to get away from Spanish background, Spanish culture,
Yeah.
just from the Civil War back then, but also because there were some, I guess, discrimination of Spanish in Mexico at that time
Oh,
too. I
that,
mean, even
yeah.
till this day, you still hear about it. It's very light, but I think there's still that discrimination, just like we were talking earlier. Whether you're in Spain and you're Mexican, or whether you're in Mexico and you're Spanish.
It's so much of a discrimination. Everything changed. They changed their accent. They changed the way they cooked because I mean they could make paella like no no one's business. But they started learning the Mexican like dishes of seafood dishes, and I'm sure that there was a lot of like changes going
Mhm.
on when in the 30s when like the Spanish came with the arroz and the seafoods and everything, but they did not want to make traditional Spanish
Mm.
dishes.
I wonder. That's pretty interesting because I wonder what was going through their head. I wonder what kind of discrimination they were facing at that time, and just like nowadays, I guess you I can't put it into like my own thoughts of like leaving your whole culture and like family and stuff
It's a
behind.
big fear.
Yeah.
Is they have like fear like for their kids, not even just for them because they'll die for their kids, but they have fear that their kids will slip and say something that is nothing to do with them,
Mm.
because they don't want their kids to be drafted into a war that is not anything. So they want their kids to be like full on Mexican and let's go.
Yeah. So then, your grandparents, where did they? I mean, they were living in the same community and neighborhood in that area of Mexico. How were your parents born? Your mom or your dad in that time? Where did they meet? Do you know that information?
I know where my parents met, but like
Your
my
grandparents?
grandparents.
They
Okay.
must have met in a neighborhood, right?
Yeah, yeah. So there was a Spanish neighborhood in Hermosillo. And mind you, this is the time where there was like barely any cars. Everything was dirt road. The houses were built like by hand on like mud and everything like that. Not like a like Tahiti mud hut or anything like that, but pretty much close to that. People were their living room was a dirt floor.
Yes.
So they both were in different communities, like I said, Guaymas or San Blas and Hermosillo. Yeah, so my grandparents moved up north.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not planning to move next to each other,
Mm.
and that. So my grandparents met in Hermosillo, and my grandparents met in Guaymas from the same community. And if you look at my grandfather, he's like completely blue-eyed, like European white. And
Mm-hmm.
so but if you look at my dad's side, he looks like darker. So you can never tell what's going on
Yeah.
where.
So, and moving forward, in this point in time, your great, not your great grandparents, but your grandparents have probably already been together. Um, where does your mom and dad come in the picture?
So
And if
with
you'd like to share their names too.
certainly, yeah. So my grandfather from my mom's side, the Barcelona side, they moved up to Nogales. At, uh, that's where he was getting the job with the railroad company.
Mm.
His name's Ignacio, and they used to call him Nacho, Ignacio Quintero. His wife, Ramona Espinosa, with she once she married my grandfather, Ramona Quintero. So Ignacio and Ramona Quintero moved to Nogales, to the colonia, they call it, right? The neighborhood in Nogales. And then as far as my father's side, my Nana Maria, red-haired lady,
Spanish,
So, yeah,
very
yeah, yeah,
Spanish.
yeah. Maria, um, and Don Luz, it's that was my grandfather's name on my dad's side.
Was he the tall, light-skinned, blue-eyed guy?
He had like light eyes, and I knew him as an old man, so he was always working construction, so he was dark, but he had like straight hair, features, tall. And all I knew him as Don Luz,
Mm-hmm.
so Don Luz Maldonado and Maria Maldonado, and they moved up to Nogales too.
Mhm.
And Don Luz Maldonado and Maria Maldonado, moved next to Ignacio Quintero and Ramona Quintero. And the two moms, of course, they're friends,
They're both Spanish.
they're both Spanish, but not open
Mhm.
Spanish, So they're friends and they hang out. And but see, at this they hadn't moved up yet until they had a bunch of kids.
Mhm.
So they moved with all their kids to Nogales,
Mhm.
because there's a lot of opportunity there. And so at this point, my mom is the oldest of 17. And my dad,
17. Wow.
yeah,
Think of that. That's
so,
crazy. 17.
yeah,
She's the oldest, so
yeah.
she must have been the babysitter too.
She was totally the babysitter, totally, and she was telling me when she was 14, like she was still taking care of it because my grandfather had to work all the time, and
Yeah.
my grandmother was also taking care of a bunch of kids, and she was still having kids
Yeah.
when she was 14.
I wonder if that's a Mexican thing or is that a Spanish thing? Because my grandmother had 12. And I know that in Mexico because I'm Mexican, so I couldn't trace my family back to like Spanish times or anything, but I know I have a little Spanish in me. But I mean, it's very common that families have more than 9, 8 children. You have up to 12, 13. So I wonder if that's a Mexican thing or is
I
that?
think it's a legacy thing with the father.
Hmm.
The father wants to create an army of like men to save the world.
So it's more like cultural.
It's a cultural thing. I know that for a fact for Don Luz from my dad's side and my dad.
Hmm.
Um, that they wanted to have as many children as they could.
The more children you have, the more opportunity you have to carry your legacy.
I remember growing up, my parents used to say, "We're so glad that we had 4 boys because then we'll be taken care of really well when we're older and this and that."
And your last name carries 4 times.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your last name carries 4 times.
Yeah.
So they moved up next to each other with all the kids. Your mother being the oldest of 17 from Ignacio and Ramona. What's your mother's name?
Maria.
Maria.
Yeah.
Maria, again, remind me. Last name?
Oh, well, her maiden name is Quintero.
Quintero.
But you can't get any more religious than this. Her name is Maria Jesus.
Yeah. You got both of
let's name her.
both of the main characters there.
Jesus' mom and Jesus.
Yeah. Kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So Maria being the oldest, do you have the names of the other 16?
Yeah, I could probably. You know what? It's funny. I could go through it, but I should have written them down.
Or you can nickname them or.
Yeah, they all have nicknames because my mom's name is Ita.
16 is a lot, so I wouldn't. If you can remember, I'm impressed. But
it's a rough because they have like kids and my cousins and everything. It's like but it's funny because they do all have nicknames. My mom's name is Ita from her middle name Jesus. You know how they call it Chewy. Okay, so they used to call her Chuyita, which shrunk down to Ita. So her name every time her sisters come, it's like. Ita, La Ita, this and that. I was like, all right, cool. That's her name, I guess. And then I can't name them in their age order.
Right.
But my Tio Mundo, Chito, Norma, Lupe, Chita, Nando. Oh, man.
Yeah,
I'm
surprised right now. Yeah,
because there's a couple of twins in there too in the mix.
So wow, out of 17, man, your grandparents were getting busy.
Yeah. So and also in the culture, it's not like now. Like once you're like 16 or 18, you're already on your way to like building a life, right? So when my dad's my mom, my dad, I don't know why I said that earlier, but my dad, the mom and dad, my grandparents, they got a divorce in Hermosillo.
Mhm.
So my grandmother moved to Nogales, and my grandfather stayed in Hermosillo. And
So your grandmother moved with all the kids?
no,
Oh.
three of the boys, because they were like almost like older,
Mhm.
and so they're like almost like they're in their 17, 18-year olds, so they stayed with dad.
Mhm.
One went up with my grandmother. She married and had another son with another person. So my mom met my dad's mom, my grandmother, with another person. She did not know he existed yet.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because until he started visiting his mom.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he's 7 years her elder. Yeah,
Mhm.
7 years her elder. Yeah, so
Wow.
when she's like 14, he's 19, and he's in Hermosillo.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, already doing things, already hustling.
So yeah, yeah, no, definitely. Back in those times, you were 16, 17 years old. You're already building a life. You're already getting married. You're already starting your own family. Nowadays, we kind of look at that like you're just a kid, right? But
Hmm.
back then you're a kid at 1, 2 years old, and you grow up really quickly. By 9 years old, you're considered
Yeah, he
a
was out on the street like shining shoes and
mhm,
like making his own money and like trying to bodybuild and just doing like every odd job he could,
mhm,
because he didn't like being at home. He
mm,
wanted to do something bigger. He had
yeah.
bigger dreams.
And your mother, was she? How was her upbringing? Did you get a little bit of information? Did she ever pursue? Um, did she how did she ever pursue like schooling to a certain point?
She went up all the way to sixth grade.
Okay,
Okay,
that's
and
pretty common.
yeah, and that's what they're known for, going to sixth grade, and that's it. But and even then, going to school was a hassle. It was looked upon as a hassle because they wanted the girls to be home and doing chores and this and that, and because I mean, I was just talking to my mom about this story, and she and her mom and my dad's mom, like, they were always in the backyard and they could see each other from the backyard. It just had like a stupid little 2 foot fence, see-through fence. And when they washed clothes, it was like not a machine. They were like in
Yeah.
this bucket and then wringing it out through like this crank machine, throwing it in through there. And so they'd say hi to each other all the time, you know. And so uh, and they had latrines back then too. So someone would be going to the bathroom in their backyard, another person would be. They had like these wooden
I got to
latrines.
experience that in my grandparents' home.
Did you see that?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Only till recently, maybe 9, 10 years ago, they tore it down, but they weren't using it. But I got to
Mhm.
see it in the back of it. Was just a little shed, right? It looked like a tool shed.
Yeah,
There's a hole on the ground, and they have this like wooden bench with a hole in it, and that's
exactly.
where you go to the bathroom.
That's exactly right. I mean, we visited some family in 1986, right? And it's the 80s. It's like Madonna, Billie Jean, everything going on, and we're totally engulfed in Americanism as teenagers, me and my brothers. And we go visit our family that we haven't actually. I- This is a long story, but my parents tried to stay away from family,
Hmm.
but we went and visited my dad's brother and his family. And we went to their house. We were going to stay a couple of days. We went in our RV, right? And like everyone thought we were rich. I was like, what? What? We're totally not rich, We're like, but we had an RV. I guess that was like
Yeah.
fancy. But then I understood because we had to like heat water to take like bath or
Hmm.
shower, and they had a latrine in 1986. We were like had like our Walkmans and we were listening to Bon Jovi, and like we had to use a latrine. That was like just the strangest thing to me. I'm like, you're kidding me.
Yeah. A
After a
culture
while,
shock.
after a while, because everyone had them in the whole neighborhood, and my cousins, there was like 7 of them. They were all using it. It's like, I guess this like I guess this is normal.
Hmm.
I started talking to my mom and dad about it, and they're like, "Yeah, this is how we grew up. We never had like bathrooms like that." I'm like, then that's when I'm digging more at that in teenage years.
Yeah. Yeah, so no, I remember those latrines too, and taking, showers in this like little room that
Area.
had yeah, that it was there was no like shower
No,
spout. It
no,
was in a bucket, and then you put
yeah.
the cup in the bucket and you pour it over
the
you.
the bar of soap.
The
It's
bar
like
is
this big
the
square
sote.
thing. Yeah,
The sote.
exactly. And
That's
it's
what.
it's rough too. It's like
Yeah, yeah. It's what you wash clothes with. It's like like the little like powder soap. It's like washing yourself with like Tide powder soap or like
yeah,
something.
yeah.
Um, but man, yeah, those are good times. So your dad at this point, um, he was also, he was neighbors with your mom and growing up and all that. Um, did he also just go to sixth grade? What was his
No,
like?
he studied a lot. He's just like hungry for knowledge,
Mhm.
right? So he got
And sorry, what was he the first, the youngest, and what's his name?
no, he was actually the third. I thought he was like the second oldest or whatever, but he's the third.
Mhm.
Because my he has two older brothers. And but they were kind of like funny guys. They were like happy, funny guys, and my dad was just like always like on the go, trying to make money, trying to like learn. All he wanted to do, like I might have mentioned this story before. His dream, he had a dream one time
Mhm.
that he was like teaching in English in America because, and I figured out, I learned a little while ago, a few days ago, that he wanted to speak English really bad just because of the 50s music, like Elvis and like, all those 50s songs. He would like listen to them and at one point, my mom was impressed. This is on the side note that he was like singing in English, and that's why she was like, "Again, what is this language?
Mm.
Why? Where does this come from? Why are you speaking like that?" You
So
know?
he must have had this dream at a very young age for him to,
Yeah,
yeah, been inspired
he had
to
it in
even
his teens.
in his teens.
Yeah. So
Wow.
so therefore, he was going to taking any class he could. He was getting scholarships because he was applying for scholarships, and I just can't imagine how it went that way because we lost my dad months ago. So I wish I could have asked him this question, but he was getting scholarships and how it went. Like today, we like sign up for a scholarship, submit an essay or whatever. There, they barely have phones. It's like, what do you walk into a place and write on a like carve into a piece of stone?
Yeah, no,
So,
if I'm not mistaken, back then, like if you had an opportunity for a scholarship, it's because you made an impression at your school and they came to test you or you want to go test. It wasn't like nowadays where you can apply for a scholarship. It's if you were academically proficient, then you had the opportunity to go test for a scholarship or something like that.
yeah, he,
Yeah.
he was pretty much a genius,
Hmm.
because he was given as a gift to be mayor for a day when he was a teenager.
He was giving the keys to the city.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because of his like his intellect and his
Wow.
schooling. And I just wish I could like this this podcast comes at an interesting time because now I have like all these questions
Hmm.
about like what I'm talking about with him, and everyone just like always bragged about it. And like he's my dad. I'm
Hmm.
like, I don't care about that as a youth,
Right.
or I didn't care about. And in his old age, he's a different guy. In his old age, he like seemed kind of silly and like and he didn't seem like a genius to me,
Hmm.
but because we lost him and I had to clean out his desk and his house and everything, I found all these like notebooks of like schematics of like inventions and like the way electricity flowed through something else, like just
Wow.
drawing. I'm like, what is this guy, like pages and pages and hours and days of creating all this electronic schematics. I'm like, jeez, this guy really was a genius. It was just like wasn't all talk by like the uncles and
Hmm.
everything like that.
And but you know him as a son. You know him as
Yeah,
as your dad, right? You don't
yeah,
think much into depth of like what does my dad do for work, or well, where does
yeah.
he come from?
I'm gonna get in trouble.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So your your dad has two older brothers. What are their names?
His oldest brother is named Jorge Maldonado,
Hmm.
and his other brother is Chacho Maldonado. I don't know what his real name, but everyone calls him Chacho.
And
Um,
your dad's name?
Rafael.
Rafael.
Yeah.
Did he have a younger brother?
His younger brother's name Tito,
Tito.
like Tito from the Jacksons.
Tito is most likely Rodolfo, probably.
I don't know.
Mm.
I've never thought about that,
Yeah.
but Tito, yeah. And so when they moved next door to my mom, it was only Tito and the new son, Miki or Miguel, because she got with another husband and had another son. So my mom only knew Tito and Miguel,
Mm.
and Miki because she used to my dad's mom, my grandma used to like ask her to walk him to kindergarten.
Mm.
So she used to walk Miki to kindergarten. That's my dad's brother, and she hadn't even met my dad yet. So she has this relationship with my dad's family without his presence.
Right.
Mhm.
He was your mom took on the role of a babysitter for your dad's family too, for your dad's little
I know.
brother.
I know. She was spreading herself thin.
Yeah. I hope they were paying her, right?
I don't know. I don't think people did it that
No,
way back
definitely
then.
not.
Yeah.
But at what point in time did your mom and your dad meet? Because um they must have been, well, the family was living next to each other, but
So
he must have came in and out, of the mom's house.
I get my dad was like the popular guy, right? So every time he'd come to the neighborhood, they'd be like a fuss about him, and my
Mhm.
mom would like, "Who's that?" Because he had a car too,
Mm.
and so he loved working on cars. He was actually a mechanic at that time, so that's why he would come visit his mom from Hermosillo because he liked to drive and blast the '50s music. And so he had like the Ray-Ban sunglasses, the shiny pointy black shoes. He liked to dress nice, and he was just the popular guy, and like she hated that. He's like, why is that guy in the neighborhood? Where is he from? He doesn't even look like him from.
Yeah.
So one day, she's out in the backyard, and he's out in my Nana Maria's yard. He's like, oh, that guy's in that backyard.
Yeah.
And,
She must know the
and
neighbor.
like he's sitting there with the cup of coffee. And he's like, hey, you want a cup of coffee? And she's like, ooh, me? She's like 14 years old. And he's like, yeah, you want a cup of coffee? He's like, no, I don't drink coffee.
Yeah.
And then so she went inside, and so that was the first meeting. And so like, and then he was gone, and so she asked my Nana Maria, like, who is this? Who is that?
Yeah.
So that's my son. He's wonderful. Blah blah. He's blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh, okay. But then he started coming more often, and one of his friends was like, hey man, have you checked out that güerita? Like the lighter skinned girl over there.
One of his friends from the neighborhood.
Yeah, from the neighborhood. And he's like, who? Ita? He's like, yeah, she's pretty hot, huh? Like, okay, I guess. So after that, then he started like, this is his story to me. Like, then he took interest in her all of a sudden because someone else
Right.
was interested in her.
That's how it goes.
She's young though, but okay. Yeah, but I mean, it's in the blood. Like I don't know how to gauge it because I'm their kid, but I don't know if she was beautiful. I look at my daughter; she's beautiful. She must have been beautiful, and my dad must have been really handsome because my brothers are really handsome.
Mhm.
And but old age takes its toll.
Right.
And so,
And when
they're
you're
my
and you're
parents.
they're your parents, so like you're like, mom. Like I've seen pictures of my mom when she was younger, and I was like, I see why my dad got with you, but
Like-
then you're like, I don't see it now.
Yeah. Even though when my mom told me about their first kiss, I was like, ew, that's
Yeah.
no. How did no?
Yeah. So then you also mentioned to me before, in the call that we had previous to this, that your dad was also a musician in one way or another. He also played instruments, right?
Yeah, he played instruments. And this I didn't know that my mom knew his older brother because he came more often to visit my grandma. So, but he always had a guitar strapped around him and playing harmonica. But my dad eventually, when stayed, he eventually started staying with my grandmother, and he was actually more of an accomplished guitarist, like not just a fun guitarist. He was doing like like more complicated stuff.
Hmm.
And I saw that growing up, but I never saw it again later in life. But if he was doing what he was doing in that time, what, let's say, the 50s, in Nogales, Sonora, Mexico, he was probably pretty, like, they probably thought he was the amazing
Yeah, he must
guitarist,
have been like you, said, he was popular.
Yeah, yeah, and he talks a lot. He liked to talk and he jokes. Everything out of his mouth was a joke.
Hmm.
It's comedy. Um, but yeah, he was pretty much a great guitarist because he was playing at all the parties. Like, everyone wanted to invite him because he'd like throw down, and everyone would sing or whatever, and then he'd throw some flair in there.
Hmm.
So yeah, he was a pretty good guitarist.
And was he playing Spanish guitar? Like, what
Yeah,
type of,
yeah.
yeah.
All of the guitars at that time, there was no steel string guitars. They were all Spanish guitars, and they called them jarochos because they were made in Jarocho, Mexico, where a lot of the guitar makers were Spanish,
Hmm.
but Mexican,
Yeah,
quote unquote.
they were undercover.
Yeah, so they're still really good guitars that come out of there. They're just as good as the Spanish guitars. I've heard a bunch of them. They're amazing. Anyway, so yeah, he was playing a Spanish designed guitar,
Hmm.
and everyone played nylon string Spanish guitars back then, but they were Mexican guitars.
Hmm. And your uncles, they were playing, like you said, harmonica
Yeah,
and a few.
one of them just, but it was just like kind of like campfires type stuff,
Right. Yeah,
like,
keep the girls entertained or
yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah. Not even anything difficult, just like three chords and a
Right.
lie.
But did you ever figure out, or did you ever know if your grandfather played
So my grandfather, Don Luz,
Don Luz?
from Hermosillo, he was actually a violinist, but my grandmother, Nana Maria, that lived next door to my mom, Don Luz, he was an accomplished violinist. And I didn't get to hear him or see pictures of him. And this is the problem with those times. There's no, like, today we can document everything,
Hmm.
but apparently he was a accomplished violinist and he wrote a lot of music. And back then you can't just like tape something or thing. You actually have to know how to read music and write it down,
Hmm.
so that was history. So she was so mad at him during like divorce times that she burned his violin. She burned all of the music that he ever wrote when he was gone building, because on the side he was building houses,
Hmm.
and so she burned all of that in a rage. And if I could have just one of those pages, I'd be like amazed.
Mm.
You know?
So he must have came from Spain with already a background in playing the
Absolutely.
violin.
Can you imagine hearing what like, because okay, being born there and being raised there is like a different vibe from the music. Like, you're breathing and living the music of Madrid, which comes like with a hint of Irish music too, and
Hmm.
classical. So they call that area Galicia. So there's like some Irish element in it, mixed with Spain, and it's like amazing.
And this is like the 1920s, right? Around that time,
Where he was
where he was growing
up,
up.
yeah,
Yes,
the
where he was
20s.
growing up
It
and
was,
playing the violin and
yeah,
learning how to.
and
Yeah.
everyone was like pretty good. They were well off. They were doing great. Everyone was happy. And just again, I need to like do another side note on that. Is I actually play in an Irish band too.
You play or played?
I play,
Oh, really?
and so I have a lot of Irish music influence in me too.
Mm.
So I play the tenor banjo, the mandolin, the bouzouki, all this Irish music. There's me playing Irish music all over the internet. But it's funny. It's like, why am I attracted to that too? So, and I think we just answered it there because growing up as a musician in there, he has some Irish influence as well.
Yeah, it's got to be that. It's got to be that. So, unfortunately, you weren't able to get your hands on some of those musical notes that your grandpa Don Luz.
Or even talk to him about it.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
also at that time, I'm sure he was trying to, not only him but everyone else around him was trying to get away from their background and their uh, times in Spain. So they weren't recording, they weren't documenting anything that had to do with Spain back in the day. So it's very hard for you to find that. Um, but that's amazing. I mean, so you come from a lineage, a background of musicians, whether your dad was playing the guitar or your grandfather was playing the violin. Was there any of that in your mom's side of the family?
So my mom is a singer. So
Mm.
after my dad and her started hanging out a little bit because it was like very restricted with my grandfather. So at the parties, she would sing, and she was like known for being the singer.
Had a voice.
Yeah, yeah. So they were like a duo all of
Hmm.
a sudden. But she didn't know that she had this talent. And it just happens and it just comes through with her. There's no formal training. She's not off key. She can sing. And it's like, well, there's something there on her side, but she has no knowledge of any music happening throughout any of her lineage.
Hmm. Did any of her parents sing? Your mother's parents?
No,
So it was
they
just
they were just like straightforward, like no nonsense,
yeah,
you know.
work. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Wow.
And even knowing that my grandparents on my mom's side, they were kind of like really mean,
Hmm.
and so we didn't visit them often. We didn't get to know them that much. In fact, my mom and dad, when they got married, they didn't want anything to do with any part of the family. They wanted to start a complete new family away from everybody. So, me growing up, I didn't get to meet my grandparents until like my teenage years.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Or
Wow.
or any of the family.
Yeah.
They just did not want to be part of any of that whole scene.
Something must have happened during that time.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to how your mother and your father got together. What did you find out from your mom of when they actually started seeing each other in a more serious way?
It's funny because, she didn't like him at all at first, and then she saw him in that backyard interaction. So then he was very interested in her, and like he was asking her, like, let's go hang out. He's like, no, I can't. My dad would kill me,
Hmm.
so to speak. So so then they just like started talking every now and then out front. Everyone hung out in the like out front in the front of the houses and everything. And he talked to her every now and then. And she's telling him, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna go to the movies." So the movies back then was just like this like stone like thing with no roof. You could see the stars and whatever, but they'd project the movie and you'd be sitting on cement and stuff like that,
Hmm.
right? So, but so she's telling him, I'm going to the movies with three of my friends because that's something that they did all the time.
Hmm.
And so he said, okay, cool, I'll go with. He's like, no, like it's just us. He's like, I'll drive you guys. And she's like, and her friend's like, yeah, let's do it. So he drove them, right? And then he paid for all of them.
Hmm.
And they were like, ooh,
Trying to win her heart.
yeah, because it was a lot of money, but he was like making money at the time. So he took them to the movies, and she was so annoyed because he was like laughing all loud and he was like enjoying himself.
Hmm.
And he tried to put his arm around her, and she's like, oh, don't be ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
because she's like just with her friends and she's kind of embarrassed. And then at the end, he tried to make out with her. He tried to kiss her, And she's like, what is your problem? What are you doing? And like her friends are laughing and stuff like that. He's like, and so she got all crazy. She's like, don't, this is ridiculous. Don't do this. I
Yeah.
don't want anything to do with you. You're ridiculous. You think that you could just pay for everything? And he was like, okay, cool. And he left.
Mhm.
And he left them there. So she's like, okay, so
Yeah.
I guess we're walking, girls.
And I bet her friends were telling him, "What'd you do?
Yeah.
He was our
He
ride.
was the guy.
Yeah, he was the guy. Girl, go with him."
Yeah, but it's little instances like that, and then they started they couldn't really date because my Ignacio, her dad, was like really
Was
against
strict,
that
yeah.
for her, you know. So they kind of kept it like on like the down low with friends, and they didn't kiss or anything, you know. This is what she told me. I don't know, you know. But then again, so he had to go. This is one part of the thing. He got a scholarship to go study electronics, and and so he left, and he was writing her letters. She said like she didn't ask him to, but he was writing her like poems and writing songs about her and writing her letters, like being very romantic. And my grandma Ramona found the letters when she was cleaning.
Her
And
mom,
yeah, her mom, and showed them to her dad and
Don Ignacio.
Don Ignacio. And she got so in trouble, and he would just like beat her, you know. So and he beat her so much, and then like whipped her legs because in those days women couldn't wear pants, so
Mhm.
she had only skirts. So she was so embarrassed to go to school those next few days because she had bruises all on her, and all the girls knew what that meant, and they were like, "Oh, dang!" So
Like, you're in trouble.
yeah, you were in trouble with your dad, or you were messing around with the dude. So she was really embarrassed to have those bruises. You know, not so much that it hurt or
Right.
that he did anything, that she was just embarrassed that the girls were looking that she got in trouble with the dude because
Yeah.
they knew what that meant. You
Right.
know, so
Damn.
it sucked.
So that's crazy to think because yeah, I think going back to your mom and your dad, like, how do I say it? That's very, I don't know if this is the right word, but like biological, um, or psychologic. But when one is hard to get, like let's say in this instance, your mom, she did not want to be with your dad. He was like interested in her, and she was like, no. He was probably like the bad boy that like I'm gonna get in trouble if I'm with you. It sounds like a movie. I'm like visualizing a movie in my head right now, you know.
Yeah.
So it's very classic, I would say, maybe in a way, you
Yeah.
know.
It,
And
so yeah, I mean, I guess that yeah, it definitely it's heavy,
mhm.
but yeah. So she once again did not like him after that. So
Once again,
yeah,
after the third time of not liking
yeah,
him,
yeah, yeah.
now she told him to get away from me, stay away from me.
Yeah, she didn't like him, so he came and wanted to see her. Like that's the last thing she wanted to do because like she didn't want to get in trouble with her
Hmm.
dad. So she ignored him. She would see him and like you know, glances darted, but she did not want to be in trouble. It's like that's just what it was. But so anyway, she started working really like far, so that she had to walk like a mile to work, and she had to pass by this construction site where the dudes were like, you know, catcalling all
Hmm.
the time, right? So she had to deal with that. And on one of the occasions, um, a guy tried to accost her,
Hmm.
and she took off. And then the next night, and because it was nighttime by the time she was going home, another guy tried to accost her, and like he took her, what is it, her little sweater thing off.
Like cardigan or
Yeah,
something. Yeah.
yeah. And so she left. She always wore high heels. She left her high heels and just ran all the way home. You know, so she did not want to go back to work, but you know she had to for the family. So this is all in 3 days. So I think it was like planned to be like that from God
Hmm.
or whatever. But on the third night, she was really scared to walk, and up pulls up a car, you know, blasting some 50s music. It's like, Chuyita, ¿Quieres un ride? You want to ride? And she's all like, damn. Normally I would say no,
But I don't want
but
to
these
get
past two
catcalled.
nights, no, she was like fear for her like
Mhm.
getting raped,
Mhm.
So she's like, I'm jumping in this car, and so he drove her home, and he was telling her like that he's gonna join the military. That like he was convinced that he could get more training in electronics in the military, and like they'd pay him and all this on that drive. And again with the 50s music, and he bust out in like the lyrics part of it because
Yeah.
he's just so passionate about the music.
He starts singing in English.
Yeah, yeah. She's like, I can't believe that this language is still around me. She's like, why is this English a thing?
Mhm.
It's funny how we see things. But anyway, to shorten the story up, he told her, I'm going to go in the military for a few years there. I'm taking off to Veracruz, very far, but I want you to wait for me. And she's like, wait for me for what? And she's like, but my mom's just like very like, oh, for
Yeah.
what? What are you talking about? And he's like, for marriage. I want to marry you and I want you to wait for me. I don't want you to be with anyone while I'm gone. Because when I come back, I want to get married with you. Like, what are you talking about? Like this is like we're not even like dating like
Right. She had to
everything.
cut him off.
Yeah, yeah. Just like just listen to my words and take them as they are. He went to the military, and she didn't want to be with anybody. And she's growing up with their friends and going to parties and everything. And like anytime any dude hit on her or whatever, she'd be like, "I have a boyfriend, but he's like in the military right now." So like that was her thing.
Mhm.
So everyone started believing that my dad was her boyfriend, and so that was the set in stone just for her using excuses from guys hitting on
Yeah.
her. She did not realize that like everyone thought that was the gospel.
Right.
you know?
Right. She was just trying to find a way out.
Yeah, so it's funny, and everyone's like, "Oh, there's the." They used to call my dad Toto. There's Toto's girlfriend. Blah blah blah. He's like, "No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm not." Anyway, so once again, she obviously is really good friends with his mom, and so she decides she doesn't ask about him. She never talks about him, whatever. But one time she decided to. She's like, "Hey, so what's going on with him? How is he? Is he doing good?" He's like, "Yeah, he's gonna get married." Apparently, like so. Here's another like thing that and maybe it's a woman thing or something. She didn't like that her because they became really good friends. My mom and my nana,
Mhm.
my dad's mom, they became really good friends. But she didn't want him to be with her son. Like she was
Oh,
like, I
really?
don't want to lose my best friend. So she fabricated this stuff that he has the girlfriend that he's going to get married to because she wanted her to forget about him.
Because
So
she wanted her as a friend.
yeah. So she didn't realize that that was going to break her heart like crazy. And so, because, see, while my dad was in the military, he was actually, this is crazy of him that I found this out. He was sending a taxi for her to be like driven to this like what do they call them? Soda shops. It was called the Campana on Obregon Drive in Nogales. I've been there like in 2016 to check it out because it had a payphone. So he would get a taxi for her, drive her over, so she could get on the phone with him
While he was
while he
in the
was in the
military.
military, while he had his stops in different places, because he loved her. He obviously loved her. He wanted to be with her. He wanted to marry her. He was set right after seeing her. Whether she came around, it was going to be up to her. Maybe she was around. Maybe she just didn't want to like admit it, you
Mhm.
know. But he was talking on the phone and the letters and everything from military. So for my grandma to say that to her, she was like, "What? He's a liar then." So because she trusted her, you know. And moving from that, uh, my dad, I'm going to tell you this story because he was in the military on this ship called Cuauhtemoc.
Mhm.
He was on this ship that he always wanted me to find on the internet, like never existed or whatever. And he traveled all over the world. And it was that ship that was in New York that crashed into the Brooklyn Bridge. That travels all over the world, and like I never found it on the internet until like the news of it, the Cuauhtemoc. I'm like, that ship really exists. He was
Mhm.
on that freaking ship, and
Mhm.
it's too bad that he died before. This happened just a few months ago in March or whatever.
Yeah.
That he was on that ship, and he was always speaking about how great it was to be on that and helping people around the world and this and that. I'm like, oh, this old man's crazy. We're never gonna find that ship. It never existed, but it exists.
Yeah. It came up. It came up. That's how mysterious God works, right? You
Yeah,
bring something up across at the maybe at a certain time for you
at
to
the
learn.
end or the yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that broke my mom's heart that she said that, and so when he came back, uh, she stopped getting in these taxis and answering the calls or anything like that. So he's like, okay, she's moved on from me. She's found someone, and I'm not going to mess with that. If she's not with me, she never was mine. I'm not going to
Mhm.
mess with her. So he'd see her. And then finally, she decided to be like all crazy. He's like, so let's talk. What's the deal with this and that? He's like, what?
Where's your wife?
Yeah, what's up with this? It's like, no, no, what does that mean? Who told you that? Da, 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 right? So she's like, you're a liar. I know you're just trying to escape this. And like, so he was like, what the heck is this? Later on, it turns out that it was fabricated, you know, and just because she didn't want, and she said later in life that she didn't want her, her friend to be with her son.
Oh, she did admit to that
Yeah,
later on in
yeah.
life.
And it was just more like a joke at that point
Mhm.
because it's like she's already this came up when she was already married to him for many years,
Right.
had 4 kids, and we're all like older. So it was a joke to her. And after a while, she's like,
But
"Oh,
she didn't know how much it would hurt her.
at the time,
Mhm.
no, no." And my mom's like very like stern and stubborn and hides feelings and also very judgmental. So
I guess it was destined to be, right? Because after all that, after all those trials and tribulations, and your dad, trying multiple times over and over again, they still ended up together.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's how it's destined to be.
Hmm.
Like I really honestly believe that we're not in control of our destiny. We're supposed to be, even if we try to like avoid what we want to, what we're supposed to be, we're gonna end up there
We're
if
gonna.
it's meant for us.
Hmm.
Like it just happens that way. Anyway, so then all of a sudden they started like becoming serious, and he's like, "Let's do this. Let's get married. Let's move. Let's have our own house and stuff like that." And they did, and she didn't tell her parents because she knew that that was going to be bad because like they were going to lose a like caretaker of the rest of the kids, like everything. So she did a bounce thing. She like just like eloped and they went to live in a house the next day.
Oh, really?
So they got married in a church, but the next day they were living together. So my grandfather couldn't beat her, couldn't like keep her because marriage is a sacred thing.
Right.
So that's my dad's woman now.
Yeah.
He can't do anything about that.
At what age was this?
That was in
What age did they get married?
they got married like 19, 20, like real early,
Hmm.
you know.
So he was
Like
going to.
yeah, they were
This was
like
after the military.
it was after the military, so
Hmm.
they were like 20 and he was 7 years older than her. He's like
Hmm.
27.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's funny. No, I think she was 19 and he was 26. It was like that.
Hmm.
So it was after the military. Oh, when he came back, he came like full decked out in his like military white because he was in the Navy. It's all white
Right.
suit with his like hat, not those little sailor hats, the like admiral hat things,
Right.
Yeah. So it's funny that he's like just prancing around the neighborhood like that. Everyone still loves him. Like he's the guy. He's
Hmm.
always funny. He's always got a story to tell. He's like dressed to the nines. He's got cars. And it bled in over to his sons. Like we have the fire, We are great conversationalists. We we like to joke around, you know.
The music.
The music for sure, you know.
Hmm. So let's take a little break right here.